Welcome to another episode here. Just got a call from the boys. They got the car up on the hoist for us, so we're going to get our hands dirty today. What do we got? We got Big Al. Hey. And we got Bozzy here. We've got the car up on the hoist. We're going to look at these CV angles, because we just did a lift. Body lift doesn't affect CVs at all. So CVs, continual velocity joints. That's the bad boys in here. We can see the angle's pretty ordinary. So that's on full droop, as we know. We are going to play with the suspension a little bit more later on, but for the time being, that's what comes with it. At the moment, I think another thing we'll do, because the CVs are pretty prone to getting ruptured by sticks and that, because you can imagine all the frontal impact, a lot of stone chips you can actually see on this chassis here. So any of those rocks could puncture that. So what we're going to do, whilst we're doing a diff drop, we might as well put our CV deflection plates on here. So one thing we can notice on here is these bolts, they're being put on the wrong way around. Factory, they come the other way, which makes this job very, very hard to fit. So basically with the diff drop, we're trying to minimize the angle on CVs, not just up and down, but side to side under steering angle. So yeah, by improving the full lock steering angle of the CV, that is done by moving that diff forward to make it as central as possible to that hub center. That's where, the key point of our design. The up and down, what we do with the up and down height, we drop the diff down as far as we can possibly go. So basically what we do, the first thing we do, we cut ball joints open on our chassis, not this one, but we've got another chassis there we've been developing off. We find out the absolute travel up and down. Then we find the center point of that and bring it down 5 mil. That's it, 5 mil down from there. So you're looking at the perfect amount of angle at all travel of suspension. Because if you go too far down in the diff drop, there's going to be a few things that you collide on, but it's going to take it under, like down too low. You're going to end up low cross member. You're also going to find under compression. So as the suspension goes up, this CV is going to get pulled up and pulled out, basically, under load, though, when it's full loaded up. The other problem that you find, if anyone does a bigger diff drop than 25 mil drop, you can see here, there's not much clearance. So we've got it so there's about 2 to 3 mil of clearance there. That's the diff pinion, so the back of the diff housing, to our chassis. 25 mil gives us about 2 to 3 mil clearance there, which shouldn't rub unless it's extreme cases. But you can imagine if you went further than 25 mil, you're gonna be smashing hard in that. So people who've got knock issues, you'll find you're probably diff drop smashing. So keep an eye on it for that, won't you? Anyway, I'll get the boys back over here. We will get this install started. So a common issue that people have with the diff drop relocation installation with these side brackets. We do have it in the video where we mentioned the locator that's at the back here. You can do that if you like, but there's no need. Do not remove that locator. It is very important. Just undo the 4 bolts that hold this side plate onto the diff, so the CV plate. Loosen them off 2 turns each. You get about 3 mil of play there. That's going to be plenty to line this up. Very important to mention about these bolts here. These are the front bolts with, so the bolt that we supply, split washer, love them or hate them, they do serve a purpose. You get the high tensile washer, and this is the original washer and rubber dampener. They must go back in place. That goes up underneath here, goes up through once we've got that located. So what you get is, as the diff is moving up and down, because the mount that's in there is a dampener, it will not hold back the entire torque of that diff. So if we look at this and we remove that washer there, as this is a common issue or common fault that people have done, that bolt goes up there now. Look up into it, that washer won't cover that rubber properly. So what we're going to look at is the reason for this washer. It's big, it's a limiting washer. So that washer is bigger than the rubber. So under full load, that bracket there will come and hit against this washer. Then there's that rubber washer there to dampen the impact between that metal surface of the bracket and the metal surface of this washer. There's about correct spacing as well, because if the bolt's too long, it's going to hit against the chassis and push that down. So if these washers aren't used as they are seen here in the video itself, that is going to try and push that against, because it's going to be into the chassis instead of being the correct length and stopping within 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters of the end of that to get the maximized thread grab in here, because we measure that to be 25 mil. So 25 mil worth of thread on a N14 by 1.5 mil pitch is well and truly strong enough. You'll never strip that with torque of the diff. Alright, that job is done. So we had a bit of an issue with this one, as some people will have had before. This was used 65,000 Ks. It was in a stolen recovery incident where it had a fair bit of damage to it. So what we had to do was fix up some of these tabs. So you can see this one here is bent up pretty bad. Even these dials here were bent out. So we took them out, flattened them out again, just cold forged them with a hammer. So it just took a fair bit longer. So you got to allow for that sort of stuff, unfortunately. But we do like to use this anti-seize grease as well, which is messy stuff. But once you wipe it off, it's all inside, it doesn't wash out, and it'll stop the rust from that bearing. So it is a good thing. We put grease in everything of ours, and when we're working on people's cars as well, Loctite where it's required, but obviously not these. So they're all in, so we're going to go through wheel alignment now. We also have our CV deflection plates in, so it's going to stop from impact, or direct impact from sticks and that. Obviously this one on the inside is pretty exposed, but really it's pretty hard to get to. But this one here is right out in the open, so we do like to protect them as much as possible. They're all stainless steel. They are e-coated just for a finish. They will get stone chips in that, so obviously no use making them out of mild steel where it's just going to rust up as soon as you get the first stone chip. Even when you just fit them, it's going to get rust on it. So yeah, clean up, get a wheel alignment done, and she's ready to go for the next job. Sorry about the apron look today, but it is the weekend. I'm here by myself just playing with this. We are working a bit on the interior, so we're trying to go for a semi-factory look. You see 3 gauges there. The 4th one, don't disregard that one, please. That is, we make another point for that off to the side. But we do have, as we mentioned before, we've got 2 boost gauges. So left and right, we just hot and cold side. The pyro gauge in the middle. Over the right-hand side there, that one by itself there, that is a dual temperature gauge, so in and out, so hot and cold temperatures, just so we can do more testing. So we're trying to make it look like it's fitted. Obviously I'll do a black one once it's done, but the grey or silver print sort of shows you more of what it's, you know, we get to see the outline of the part more. But yeah, so there's been a lot of wiring for that, a lot of under dash stuff. Yes, I've got a big hole in the firewall, don't we all, when we start running gauges through. But it's one of those things, that's part of the build. You know, we know about gauges that have to be done, but I'd much prefer to keep a good eye on everything that I've got going on in the car. It's also for testing means we've got, you know, temperatures hot and cold for the intercooler. That's the primary testing for me, is the intercooler efficiency, intercooler from factory, or how we get the most out of it. I'm trying to keep a few things standard, or standard looking-ish for our first trip. Now, I don't know when that's going to be. We're still waiting on a tune, so Just Automotive is going to be helping us out with a tune very soon. Obviously, we got rid of the DPF being missing there. Obviously, a lot of unplugged plugs. Everyone knows that puts you in a hard limp mode. So I think I get about 1 pound boost and flat out getting 2,000 RPM. So it ain't going nowhere, especially the 35s on. It is struggling, but with the clutch in, it's turbo's hooked up, plumbing's done, everything's fitting nice. I've had it warm and running and driving just around car parks here, so in the enclosed complex, so private property. But just to get things warm, making sure there's no leaks, no oil leaks, no coolant leaks. We do have this water-cooled turbo, so I've had to make sure that everything's running nice there. I had a big hand from Jasper with a lot of hooking up while we were doing some other stuff. But I think that's good for an update for now. We'll keep you up the loop, and look, thanks a lot for following the channel. It is going to get busier and busier, so do apologise about the break there, but we had a couple of, we've got the public holidays in amongst there too, so it's been sort of creating a few gaps there where we had to push a lot in during the day here because we're doing everything in one shop. So it's just one of those things that creates a bit of fun.